In this video, we will be tasting and talking about batch 101 of the Ecocha Tea Club, an early spring Bi Luo Chun green tea from Taiwan. Batch 101 of the Ecocha Tea Club is an early spring Bi Luo Chun green tea from Sanxia district in Taipei, Taiwan. We procured the very first day of Bi Luo Chun production this year, 2024. We just kept hounding, well, we just called and texted with the producer of this tea prior to the beginning of their harvest, and initially we were going to go up within 5 days of the harvest, and then he called us on the first day. We knew when it was starting, and he said, "Can you come up tomorrow? Because it's going to get really busy real quick with big retailers that he has worked with for decades." And we said, sure. So we went up and we got the first pick, which is a first for us. And we were excited to be able to do that. It's February 25th was the harvest date. And last year was March 10th, I believe. And we like to share this tea once a year, particularly the first pick of spring, because it really does stand apart from the rest of all tea harvests in Taiwan. It's the earliest tea harvest or spring tea harvest in Taiwan. There are places in Taiwan and strains of tea where you can harvest year-round, namely lower elevations in southern central Taiwan of Four Seasons Spring Oolong. That's a different story. These tea trees are an heirloom strain. The cultivar is called Qingxin Ganzai. And it's scattered around Taiwan perhaps in sort of boutique crops, people who are doing alternative things. But Sanxia Bi Luo Chun is all Qingxin Ganzai, and it's sort of by necessity. These trees are very hardy, and as far as the common knowledge goes, they're the only ones that can stand up to being harvested as like leaf buds every 10 days or so for months on end. It's an extremely persevering type of tea. Those very young buds have a very unique flavor, and the earliest pick or the earliest flush of spring tea is unique in itself. When we first brought this tea home and brewed it at home in our own way, we realized that it was significantly more delicate than the previous year, last year's tea that we shared in April also. And we told that to its maker, and he said, yeah, the earliest flush, the first few days of harvest, are particularly delicate and are suitable for competition. The competition standard here is a very light and delicate and fresh bouquet that they're looking for as the quality standard. We have, in general, offered something more full-bodied, but not that really delicate and sort of subtle complexity that this batch has. So I brewed in our trusty 175-180 milliliter lidded Gaiwan/teapot. It's really a much more user-friendly teapot. We're hoping to get these back in stock soon. 180 milliliters, let's say. I put 11.5 grams in and used, I used an Insta thermometer, and if you don't have one of these, don't worry about it. I basically brought it down to between 85 and 90 degrees. And you can do that fairly accurately without the thermometer, simply by pouring straight from the kettle, boiling water from the kettle into a pitcher and letting it sit for like 5 seconds, 5 to 10 seconds. Okay, on the safe side, 10 seconds would be enough. And then you go ahead and pour it into your teapot. And it's worth timing these brews. We brewed the first brew for 40 seconds at 85 to 90 degrees, and then continued with that temperature, brewing for 30 seconds on the second brew, 40 seconds on the third brew, and 50 seconds on the fourth brew. Okay, here we go. Now that it's cooled down, I'm pleasantly surprised that it's really not very delicate at all. I just opened this bag of tea, so now February, we packaged it by the first week of March. It's at least 6 weeks that it's been sealed, but kind of settling in itself or in the composition of the leaves. Perhaps some more flavor has come out. When I was brewing and getting wafts of the brewing tea leaves, I got a very fresh herbal kind of quality. Not quite spearmint, but I did think of spearmint. And that's all there is, really, right? It's what your brain, what gets evoked in your dome. It's not like it's gonna taste like that. It's just these things pop up. What do I wanna do? I'm gonna go to the second brew first. It's really satisfying. It's zingy. Just enough dryness on the finish to really have a full bodied finish to it. I keep exhaling through my nose, waiting for something to come to mind. It's on its own right now. It doesn't really evoke a vegetable or a herb. Really nice mouthfeel. It's like literally soothing in the mouth. And I'm not gonna call it delicate again, I don't think. It's definitely, it's light and it's fresh green. It doesn't remind me of vegetables right now. Herbs, yes, I suppose so, because it's so aromatic, or I don't know, it's just kind of exploding through my sinuses all the way through my eye sockets. I think I'm getting stimulated by this tea. It's got a deep green quality, soft, not sharp herbal kind of thing, but something really substantial and not flowery. I'm not really getting a flowery aspect. Okay, I did brew a fifth brew here, and I let it sit for at least a minute. So let's see how this goes. Like almost every time I do that last brew, I like to let it sit and get pretty strong. It's totally drinkable. It's just not remarkable. It kind of like, by letting it steep a long time, it loses the complexity and all that excitement that you just saw me go through. So I'm gonna go right back to 2 here. I do think it has earliest spring personality to it. There's just something that just immediately lights up your whole sinuses upon swallowing this tea. And okay, if I were to compare side to side, of course last year's is over a year ago, so it's not really a fair comparison, although this tea has almost a magical quality. It's green tea. It's not roasted at all. It goes through this a conveyor belt dryer twice, and it's done. It's dried, and that's because they're so tender. The leaf buds are so small and tender that they're able to thoroughly dry the leaves. It has almost no stem material. Elegant, almost, the kind of tender leaf buds that are revealed in the brewed tea leaves. Slender, and you can just see that there's a lot of buds that are not unfurled. Here's a tiny stem, and those buds they never open, just this one leaf opened. So it's more like 2 buds and 1 leaf in this crop. Here's 1 leaf, oops, that just broke off. There was 1 large leaf and 1 bud. Very young. These leaves are definitely within a week of just sprouting, and they grow quickly. They're really raring to go in the early spring, even though it was still cold and rainy, and it's Taipei, it's considerably cooler up there. The dried leaves are uniform. they kind of, I feel like the young tender aspect is more evident in the brewed leaves than the dried leaves. There's a lot of peach fuzz on these leaves. You know, there's a protective coating on the leaf buds to protect them from the elements, whether it's molds or insects or whatever, just like there is on fruit and other types of vegetal buds. So when you brew the tea, do not be surprised if there's a lot of very, very fine hairs that are almost invisible, but the tea is not as transparent because that's the tea fuzz. And the makers of this tea say that there's a lot of flavor essence in that tea fuzz. So it's meant to be, basically, and it's part of what makes a Bi Luo Chun what it is. Okay, well, I picked up the big mug. As you probably know by now, this is the combined brews 1, 2, 3, 4. I said not floral. I did just think of chamomile, I'll confess. Because I rarely drink chamomile, not because I don't like it, I do like it, just because I'm such a tea head. It has a very soothing quality. It's this soft floral thing, you know, like that center of the flower has something very, almost like bee pollen to it, sweet. Okay, so that's where this tea brings me. Very delicate, fresh, just like the leaf buds, buds of some sort of mellowish herb, not something very pronounced or strongly aromatic, but definitely aromatic and distinct, and you know, there's enough substance there to be very satisfying. And when I drank this warmer temperature tea, I thought of chamomile. It's far from grassy, I can tell you that. And even like, I'm not really getting like, you know, baby greens or anything like that. There's just something soft and soothing and delicate and very full in the nose. Earliest spring, February 25, 2024 harvest, Sanxia Bi Luo Chun green tea. Thanks for being with us. See you next time.